People infected with the novel coronavirus who are more than 80 years old have the highest chances of dying from the infection of all age groups. That's according to the largest study since the highly contagious outbreak began in China, with details of nearly 44,000 cases. Let's cross over to our London studios where Simon Pusey has more on this and other international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studio in London for your 5-minute news update from around the world. Health officials in China have published the first details of more than 44,000 cases of the COVID-19 virus in the biggest study since the outbreak began. Data from the Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention finds that more than 80% of the cases have been mild, with the sick and elderly most at risk. The research also points to the high risk to medical staff. A hospital director in the city of Wuhan died from the virus on Tuesday. 51-year-old Liu Juming was the director of the Wuchang Hospital in Wuhan, one of the leading hospitals in the virus epicenter. He is one of the most senior health officials to die so far.
Hello, Nashville!
The Democratic presidential candidate Michael Bloomberg will take part in a nomination debate for the first time on Wednesday. In order to take part in the Nevada debate, he had to poll above double digits in 4 national polls recognized by the Democratic Party. On Tuesday, a poll found he had support from 19% of those surveyed. The ex-New York mayor is not competing in the first 4 nomination contests. The 78-year-old will instead choose to enter the race on the 3rd of March, known as Super Tuesday, when 14 states will vote. The Boy Scouts of America has filed for bankruptcy protection in a move that the group says will allow it to build a compensation fund for sex abuse victims. The move follows a number of lawsuits filed against the organisation over claims of sexual abuse, alleging it failed to prevent hundreds of cases. As a result of the move, all civil lawsuits against it are put on hold. The group is struggling with declining membership as well as the abuse claims. Court papers filed in Delaware listed liabilities of up to $1 billion and assets of as much as $10 billion. US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has met Ethiopia's reformist Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and other officials on a visit expected to focus on security, investment, and Ethiopia's dispute with US ally Egypt. Abiy welcomed Pompeo and his wife on their arrival and then went to lunch. Their talks are expected to focus on security concerns ahead of Ethiopian elections this year, investment opportunities as Abiy opens up the economy to foreign investment, and a dispute the United States has been trying to mediate between Ethiopia and Egypt over Ethiopia's giant Blue Nile hydropower dam. The murder trial of the wife of Lesotho's Prime Minister is set to start next month. An arrest warrant was issued for First Lady Messiah Tabane in January after she disappeared. She later handed herself in to be questioned by police. She's accused of murdering his previous wife, Lipolega Tabane, who was shot dead outside her home in the capital Missouri 2 days before his inauguration. The magistrate court set 17th of March as the date for the start of her trial. Evacuations are underway in the UK amid severe flood warnings across parts of the country. One woman died after being swept away in floodwaters in Worcestershire, while hundreds of homes have been flooded in extreme weather conditions by Storm Dennis. Almost 200 flood warnings remain in place, including 8 severe or danger to life warnings. The River Wye at Monmouth in Wales reached its highest recorded level on Tuesday. Among the worst affected areas are South Wales, Hertfordshire, Worcestershire and Shropshire, where major incidents have been declared. While February is traditionally one of the darkest months of the year for Denmark, Copenhagen has been lit up by illuminated buildings and light art scattered around the city as part of the Danish capital's 23-day light festival. A green laser beam stretching almost 4 kilometres across the city's sky will stay lit during the entire festival to remind people to leave their warm houses to visit the different displays. This is the 3rd year the festival is taking place, and some 60 light installations can be seen around Copenhagen.
It gives people a whole other perspective on the city, because suddenly you see the beam and suddenly you don't see it. It kind of plays with the skies above you.
Is bringing life to a dark season that is normally very quiet. Suddenly you see people in the streets, they're talking, having conversations, and getting new ideas about what it is to be in a city in the winter time.
And finally, the thought of plunging headfirst down a waterfall might not appeal to the masses, but for one man it is his driving force. Professional kayaker Dane Jackson has been determined to conquer Chile's 130-foot Salto de Mall since he first saw a photograph of it in 2016. The fearless athlete from Tennessee survived the drop and now holds the world record for the second longest waterfall descent. Footage recorded by his kayak team shows him approach the brink of the waterfall in his kayak before dramatically plunging down and disappearing into the white froth of the water.
That was by far one of the sickest jobs I've ever done. That view was mind-blowing.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the studios in Nigeria.
Brilliant, many thanks indeed, Simon. Time now for sports news with Olumide Macaulay.
Thank you, Gimba. Hello and welcome to Sports News. The Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, has emphasized the need to overhaul the Nigerian Football League. The minister said restructuring of the league is the only panacea that will make it commercially viable. He was a guest on our sports program, Sports Tonight.
We want to see a regime in which private individuals are owning clubs. Private individuals are building stadiums, just like we have in other countries. Our domestic league, for instance, we want to look at it. We're going to unbundle it completely. Right now, we have 92% of the clubs owned by governments, state governments. That does not augur well at all for the development of domestic league. We're going to take a stab at that. So we're going to break it down to 3 stages, have the committee look at implementable chunks, and we'll match that with the resources that we have. It's like building a house. You need a foundation. A few times we've tried to put on more on the roof without the foundation cannot sustain it.
And Tottenham manager Jose Mourinho has ruled Son out of the rest of the season owing to a broken arm sustained in the game against Aston Villa on Sunday. Son will require surgery on the injury, which happened in a first-minute challenge with Aston Villa Ezri Konsa, despite going on to complete the match and scoring twice, including a stoppage-time winner in the 3-2 victory. And the UEFA Champions League matches just played. Erling Haaland scored twice as Borussia Dortmund edged past PSG 2-1 in the first leg of their round of 16 clash in Dortmund. Saul Niguez scored a first half goal in the Erin Atletico Madrid, a slim win over title holders Liverpool at the Wanda Metropolitano Stadium. The return legs come up on Wednesday, March the 11th. New Real Madrid signing Rainier Jesus says he is living a childhood dream after the Brazil international was officially unveiled at the Estadio Santiago Bernabéu on Tuesday. Real Madrid announced in January that a deal had been struck to sign the attacking midfielder following his involvement with Brazil at this year's pre-Olympic tournament. The 18-year-old struggled to hold back his emotions and described the transfer as a dream come true, joining a growing contingent of young Brazilian talent at the club. Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo, both 19, are already established among Real Madrid's first-team ranks following moves from Flamengo and Santos in the past 2 summer transfer windows. And that's it on Sports News. It's back to Gimba for the conclusion of the News at 10.
Thank you, Olumide. And the main news again. Panic broke out in Chibok local government area of Borno State today after Boko Haram terrorists attacked Korungilum community, burning houses while residents fled their homes for safety. Also today, President Muhammadu Buhari restated his commitment to rescuing children and other Nigerians still in custody of Boko Haram insurgents. He made the comments on the eve of the Dapchi abduction anniversary. And Chinese health officials today published the first details of more than 44,000 cases of COVID-19 in the biggest study since the outbreak of the virus. And that's how it's been on the News at 10 tonight. I want to thank you so much indeed for being a part of it on behalf of all of us here. Have a splendid night rest. I'm Gimba Umar. Good night.